Today's episode is brought to you by brideandgroom.video and Wedding Post House. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn, and today I have brought on a special guest. Her name is Rachel Traxler. She runs the Gold Biz podcast. She's a wedding photographer and business coach that is helping tons of people grow their business. And honestly, we dive into a lot of different things today. We talk all about just how to attract more of your ideal buyers. We talk about serving and selling to different buyer types themselves, how to go up into more of a premium market. And then we also talk about marketing your business without social media. She's honestly a breath of fresh air, a new friend. I'm so excited to connect with her. And we're going to get right into the podcast in just a second, but I want to remind you of our friends over at howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing before we get into today's episode. If you're not familiar, Nick and I have put together a vetted list of trustable and trustworthy outsourcing companies at howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. And what this list is 5 or 6 different companies from all different budget ranges and all different qualities, so that you can get started with your outsourcing journey. If you're overwhelmed with edits, or if you want someone just to cull your footage for you, or if you're looking for someone like I use that can take your edits to the next level, you can see samples, you can learn and see testimonials about wedding editing companies that are going to help you. I know that a lot of times in Facebook groups, or when you're getting DMs all the time, people are spamming you, you don't know who you can trust. We've taken the work and done that for you with our trusted partners over at howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to Rachel Traxler. All right, well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Rachel Traxler to the How to Film Weddings podcast. Why don't you take just a few minutes and give us a snapshot of who the heck are you? Why are you on our podcast? What do you do? Tell us who you are. Give us your life story.
I would love it. Well, thanks, John, for having me. Yeah, I'm really excited. My name is Rachel Traxler. I am a Wisconsin-based wedding photographer, and I do photography business coaching, and I'm a podcaster. And I feel like a lot of what I teach, though, can also be applied to just creative entrepreneurs in general, especially filmmakers, videographers. So I do feel like there's some connection here with all of it. So it'll be really fun. I actually worked in the medical field before I became a photographer. So very opposite of what I was doing. I was working in the cancer center at Mayo Clinic. So I was working with patients with ovarian cancer. And so helping figure out like a chemo regimen that would be best fit for them based on like their prior regimens and treatments that they've done. And a very, very cool job. I worked in a windowless office filled with 7 other people, and it was tight and crammed, and I was just following protocols and meeting with terminally ill patients, and it took every fiber of my being out of me. It's a very hard, taxing job that I have so much respect for the people who can handle it. But I am an Enneagram type 7, so I need like fun, spontaneous things. I need change. I thrive off of change. I need adventure, all those things. So, and I actually never planned on being a full-time wedding photographer. Like that was totally not my plan. I did not want to. But my job in the medical field started going down while my photography really started picking up. And what's funny is when I did decide to go full-time, I went full-time like halfway through the year. And I had turned away so much work because in my mind, I was like, no, I'm not going to be a full-time photographer. So I was like turning away so much work. But I did it anyways. And I took the leap, and I never looked back. I never had a plan B. I never waited till I met a certain salary or did anything to go full-time. I just, Enneagram type 7, like spontaneous. I just did it, and I didn't look back, and I didn't have a plan B, but I feel like that's why I was thrown into just making things work and making things happen, is because I didn't have a plan B. So I knew I had to.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. That's cool. How long did you say, like, when was, like, what's the picture of your photography business, I guess, look like now? You move into doing it full time. I know you started doing coaching. Why don't you tell us a little bit of that story?
Yeah.
How'd that get going?
So it's funny because I feel like when I first started, when I went full time, like I went balls to the wall with marketing, and I went from like having 3 weddings booked that prior year to having 30 weddings booked. And so things happened really fast for me with marketing, which is a good thing in the sense of that it made me realize what was important and what I got overwhelmed fast because I feel like that was a lot. And for me, and so I realized what needed to be priority. So I was able to kind of like strip my business down and build it from the ground up again and really figure out what's important and what's working and what's not working. Um, but then I was kind of even able to like even it out a little bit, increase my prices, start charging like premium prices and get like tap into that next level, maybe like higher clientele so that I could book less weddings and still make the same, if not more. I was making more every year. And then once I got to that certain point in just my brand and stuff, I was able to start hiring out a team of associates. So I had a team of associates, and I still do. And so I'm still photographing weddings. I have an associate team that's photographing weddings, and I do my photography business coaching and like podcasting, fun YouTube stuff, all of that. So I kind of dabble in it all. So it's kind of, I was able to grow in so many different directions.
Yeah, I like that. And before we hit record, we were talking about some of the things that you're doing, one of those being your podcast, your business coaching. What would you say, how long have you been doing that, and why did you start doing that? Like, were people reaching out asking you questions, or what was a little bit of that story?
That's a great question. So I've always like, I feel like anyone that knows me knows that I've just always been that person to like help the next person in line. Like I want to help the underdog almost in a sense. And I want, if I see someone struggling, I just gravitate towards them. I've always been that person. And so it kind of makes sense that I would take my knowledge and what I do in my career and industry and help other people with it. It kind of just makes sense. My friends and just people that have known me in the past are like, it makes complete sense why you do this and have shifted into that space. But I was really hesitant to do it right away. I was nervous because I thought to myself, I don't want, I have such a clear audience right now of wedding clients and couples and all of this stuff. I don't want to muddy the water, I guess, and not be clear. And now I have 2 different audiences where one are like wedding industry people and then what are clients. And I was so scared to do that. And that really held me back for a while. But what I actually found was when I did that, people, especially as I was tapping into like that higher level, more premium clients, they really valued that and they really enjoyed that and loved that because they said, oh, our photographer, she's so good that she's teaching other photographers how to do it. And she's doing so good that she's also doing this now. And I do find like those more premium clients really value that level of expertise and knowledge. And they cheered me on. So it was one of those things I was so nervous to start. But when I did, I almost felt like it was easier for me to tap into that next level.
Yeah, that's very similar to the How to Film Weddings brand. As wedding filmmakers, people start asking you questions, and then I'm the same way, wanting to share my expertise with people, the next person in line. And so it kind of naturally just came to be. And so you get up and going with a podcast. If people don't know, why don't you tell us what it is, what you mainly focus on, and all sorts of things like that?
Yeah, so my podcast is the Gold Biz podcast, and it's for wedding photographers, wedding videographers, wedding industry, creative entrepreneurs, really. My type of education really focuses on like the business, back end, client experience, marketing. And so that's where like any type of photographer, any type of videographer, or really any like wedding industry person or creative entrepreneur really benefits from it. Because of that, I do a good mix of guest episodes and then solo episodes. And I really like short, punchy episodes. So they're not like hour-long episodes. They're straight to the point. Here's 3 ways to do this. Here they are in short form. Go implement it, put it into action.
Yeah. And I've had the chance to go. So our team's connected about a month and a half ago or so. And I went over to your site and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, who is this person? You've done such a great job with your branding. You can tell that you know how to run business. You're showing your personality. And it's very appealing and attractive of like, yeah, let's dig deeper. And you can tell you've put in the effort and you're not just like faking it or anything like that. And, for us as well, we like being around people that are adjacent to what we're doing, making friends of others that are doing something similar. And so it was like, we have to get Rachel onto the podcast. And so one of the things I wanted to dig into, we've been talking in the last two series on our podcast about Instagram itself, and then about like our secrets to sales and how to not come across salesy or like that used car salesman, and how to use our brand, to attract ideal clients and know different buyer types. And I'd like to shift to that. You mentioned you started like charging more and booking more premium clients and different things like that. And you've also, hit on the fact that, you customize things for people. And so I would love to kind of just talk to you about your process. What are your thoughts to start with on just how you started to attract and book more of your ideal buyers within your brand? And speak on that just a little bit, attracting and booking more of your ideal clients.
Yeah. And so I kind of created my own like inquiry to income method. And there's kind of 5 steps to that. The first one is just getting the inquiry. So that's lead generation. That's like everything you just said. How am I getting those inquiries in? Then not only, and that's like a big topic in itself, right? Like lead generation and getting all of those things. And there's so many other ways to market yourself and get inquiries besides social media. I love social media and I think it's great, but I think it can be defeating and a lot of people depend on it. And so there's so many other ways that you can get inquiries besides social media. But then once you get that inquiry too, it's how then you're taking that process and turning it into like converting into a booking. And I think a lot of people, when they get an inquiry, they either have like standard pricing guides that they send, or they have specific templates that they send, like email templates that they send back with their pricing guide, or they just want to get people on the phone, or they even think they're customizing their response, but their customization is something just like, oh, I've always wanted to shoot at that venue, or that place is on my bucket list, or whatever. Or I've shot there before, something like that, where they think that that's how they're customizing a response to people. But in reality, like that type of response and the way you're crafting it isn't going to make that potential client be like, we have to book them. Like we have to book them. We have to get on the phone with them. We don't care what they cost, and all of that. And that kind of ties into a lot of like how you analyze that initial inquiry too, for picking up on certain things and aspects. Like you were saying, maybe like a buyer type, whether they're like right or left brain thinkers, maybe what their love language is, maybe what their basic human need is, like what's important to them, picking up on that. And then once you can figure that out, then you can kind of figure out how to respond to them. If they're more left brain thinkers, they might want those prices up front, and they might want resources that are a little more like analytical thinking. Maybe they have graphs, charts, like visualization that people can see. These people tend to kind of maybe be price shoppers a little bit too, because they're just like, here's the date that we're getting married. Here's the venue. What's your prices? And then you can kind of know how to respond to them a little bit more, and know that if you want to get them on the phone, that a little more belief shifting needs to happen in order to get them from thinking in that left brain space to right brain thinking. Because we as creatives and in the wedding industry, most of us are right brain thinkers. And this is a very emotional, connective type of service. And so if you can get them more in that headspace, that's going to be a place of like where they're going to be coming from in an investment standpoint too. So getting them into that. Now, if they come to you and they're like gushing over how they met, their love story, the most important thing on their day is that they just want to spend time with family and friends, and they're open to budget. They don't really care. They just know that this is what they want. Then, okay, maybe it takes a little less belief shifting on that phone call. Maybe I am going to do a custom proposal for this because they're really excited about what we have to offer. They might be someone who values like that love and connection and variety and creating a package together. So I might be able to take that to create a custom package together. They might value that a little bit more. And so I'm going to respond to them a little bit differently, so that's just kind of an example of analyzing and responding differently to different types of inquiries.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, especially in the wedding filmmakers have more, a lot of them, a higher percentage are more of the left brain analytical thinkers. We're technical. We want deep, and then we get frustrated with inquiries where people are doing the same thing. And I think that there's a lot of education out there just about like, this is how you sell. This is the one way to sell. And I've realized, and I think photographers do a better job of this, of realizing that the photos are important. The experience is important, of course, but like people are that can read a room, that can understand who they're talking to, do much better. And so, if you find that you're dealing with somebody that's more of an analytical thinker, or more maybe of a dreamer, or somebody that's, there's different ways to go about communicating with each of them in order to potentially book them. So you have tell us a little bit about your photo brand, and the fact that you said you went from booking 30 weddings, and then what's kind of been the process of where you are now. I mean, are you serving more of a premium market, or how have you worked your way up that scale for pay and for clients?
Yeah. And so, yeah, that definitely looked different when I was booking 30 weddings at in the 2 to 3K range. And now booking weddings, at that higher, more premium range, serving with when I'm shooting them and my associate team as well. But something I've kind of put together, it's called the premium client pyramid. And if you can imagine like this pyramid, and there's 4 tiers to it, at the very, very bottom is social media. So, yes, this is very important, but this is actually where a lot of people just stop, and they're not getting to like that next level success thinking, because they think all they need to be doing is social media. While social media is important and it's part of this pyramid that we've got going, it's kind of just that bottom level thinking. That's where we start, right? And then if you go into like you tap into that next level, it goes into your branding and your copy and that messaging. And like you said, you want to be able to come across someone and be like, they have such a distinct brand that's going to do really well with either attracting or repelling. That's a good thing. And you want to have that different brand voice, because I think a lot of people think I'm no different. I'm a photographer. I'm in a saturated market. I'm a videographer. There's so many videographers in my market. Like, why would someone choose me? It's either you're faster, cheaper, or better. Like, you want to be better. Like, you don't want to be just cheaper all the time. You don't necessarily always have to be faster. You want to be, if you want to book more premium clients and get into that next level, you just want to be better. And being better, obviously, on a non-technical standpoint, has a lot to do with your brand. Um, and just how you're portraying that as well, too. Because even if you think, I'm just for a random example, think if you're just at your local gas station and you're just buying a bottle of water, it's probably what, like $1 or something like that. But then if you are at the airport, it could be like $8. And it's like, it's the same dang bottle of water. It's just that supply and demand happening. And so kind of like that same thing goes into how can you create and communicate this form of more premium experience, or it doesn't even have to be premium. It's just what's different, of what are you going to provide that the person next to you could never. It's like you're all filming weddings and you're doing the same thing, but why are you different? Why is your eye different? Why is your editing style different? Why is your posing approach different? What is the promise that you're promising all of your clients, that every single client that works with you walks away with? That's only true to you. And I think a lot of people get in their heads of what the industry buzzwords and what they think they should be saying is. And I want you to like just put your blinders up and ditch that and just really focus truly within of what you think that would be. So a lot of that second tier is like that branding, copy, messaging, finding your brand voice and all of that. And then the next one is your website too. Now you have that foundation of all those things. How are you creating this website experience? And whether it's a website or not, your website could just be you too, that you're funneling. It could be your funnel. Like, where are you funneling people into, and what does that funnel look like? Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not getting inquiries, or I'm not converting my inquiries. It's like, do you have an inquiry issue or do you have a conversion issue? Like, where in your funnel is that bottleneck happening? Where are things like just not communicating well? It's breaking trust. Where are things getting broken? And so if you can have a funnel, or I like to just say website, that's clearly brings people to your contact form. Like, that's the low hanging fruit. You just want people to get to your website, to your contact form, to easily fill out an easy contact form to get in touch with you. That way you can take control over this whole experience. After that, the whole client experience after that, you can take control of. And then at the very top, something that I feel like gets missed a lot is that client connection and that client experience. And when you think about that client experience is literally every single thing that you do in your business. Everything. It's sending contracts, it's sending invoices. I mean, things that you don't think are client experience. And so how is all of that almost like tying it all in a bow and like delivering that so that way people that you meet, your clients that you meet in person, they can immediately say like, yes, this is exactly who we thought you were going to be. You're going to connect that trust. Because if they meet you in person and they're like, oh, that's maybe not what I was expecting. And it could be the littlest things. It could be what you're wearing. It could be just the first sentence you say to them. It's so easy to break trust. And so I think the more you can be consistent with all of these things that I spoke about, building that trust, the more like level of expertise and brand authority, social proof, and all of that you're going to build for your brand and your clients, that's going to have a higher demand. And the higher demand you have, the more appealing it looks, all of those things.
Yeah, we can wrap it up right there. No, I'm just kidding. No, that was really good. I love that whole pyramid, and it definitely speaks true to literally what we teach on here every week. And the people that understand this, and like, so for me, I'm moving more into a premium market as well. And I only take a handful of weddings per year. And as I've worked my way up that ladder, I get less and less technical questions about my gear, about the lenses that I use or the frame rates I'm shooting in or any of that stuff. And it's way more about the overall packaged experience that I give, not only to my clients, but I also am looking at the designer or the florist or like the vendors themselves as potential clients. And we talk on here a lot about, growing those relationships and being who you are on your website, and like people knowing everything they need to know about you before they talk to you, before they reach out to you. It's like, oh, that's Rachel. Yeah, that's exactly who she is on her site. There's movement on her site. There's little GIFs on her site of her. There's little, like all of it, down to the colors, down to every bit of the experience that I've even had with you in the last month. It's like, oh yeah, this is the person that I thought I was going to talk to. And there's something that you said that it's so easy to break trust. And if your social media is awesome and there's this feed that's like, yeah, let's go. And then they click over to your website and they're like, this feels like a straight out the 90s, or like it was built with like Adobe Flash or something. I don't know. Like,
Doesn't click.
Disconnect. There's no trust. And so the top of the pyramid here is, you move forward towards your brand voice, you move towards your experience on your website, and then the client experience, the people that I know that are charging the most and demanding, that supply and demand is the highest for them, which is just the most beautiful cycle to get into, where it's like, oh, you want Rachel, you have to pay more. And then there's less Rachel to go around. And so you have to pay even more. But the people that are charging the most have that client experience. And that, I think, can get us out of having to always be thinking social media. I have to just post on Instagram, and I think a lot of us are just like, well, I'll make really good work and I'll post it on social media. Why am I not getting bookings? Why am I not getting inquiries? And so I know one of the things you talk about a lot on your podcast is basically how to market without even without social media almost, and how to market your business. Yes, you use social media. You have a great following and your social media is awesome. But what are you doing to market your business without social media? What do you mean by that?
Oh, there's so many ways to do that, but also something you just spoke on, John, too, and like it kind of ties into like within that premium client pyramid of like the brand like voice and your copy is almost like you said, the higher, almost like I don't want to say higher, but like as you grow into more premium clients and step into that type of clientele, they don't care as much about the little things. They don't care about if their hair doesn't fall perfect, if this detail was a little bit off. Like they care a little bit. This is just my experience. Like in my sweet spot, maybe the very, very high end clients care a little more, but my sweet spot of where I'm at with my premium clients, like they care more about like the desired outcome and the storytelling aspect of it, and maybe being a part of that creative process a little bit more. And so if you can just market to in your copy and use more of that appeal to their desired outcome and the dreams and vision that they have for their day and like the benefits and the ultimate like experience you're going to give them in the end, this is how I'm going to make you feel, and it being told in a storytelling way, that's going to be more appealing, and you're going to get less of those like price shoppers. Because I feel like price shoppers are the one that are like, oh, well, this extra hour of coverage or this specific time or this, they get caught up in the little details. So that's a really important thing to think of, even just within your copy. That's even helps. But to answer, I think your question of just like some ways to market yourself that aren't on social media, something that's been really, really beneficial for us. There's so many ways. SEO has been really, really great for us doing blog posts, but even doing like guest blog posts. So I'll give you an example of if you have shot at a wedding venue that you really, really love, you can then I have is almost like a template, like a Google Doc that I just send to them. And I'm like, hey, do you want to be featured on my blog? And I'm going to send you a list of 5 questions that you can answer. And I will write the blog post for you and put it on my blog. And heck, you can even use it on your blog if you'd like to. And then that way, if people are searching for that venue, my blog post is going to show up and it's going to be on my website. And they're going to say, oh, well, we're also, because people tend to like they book their venue before anything, most of the time, not always, but a lot of the times. And so if they can say, oh, so-and-so, like they type in this venue and they find this and so filmed here, so-and-so photographed here, whatever that is. I'm also looking for a videographer. I'm looking for a photographer. They work well here. They know all the spots. They know all the locations. Clearly, that's going to do really well. Making sure that also too, in that you have that call to action of the funnel to bring them to your contact form. Because the worst thing you could do is do all of this work and not have a funnel that leads people to getting in touch and booking with you. And so that's been really, really cool. And especially as a videographer, something cool you guys could do easily is just make a 1 to 2 or 3 minute little highlight film. And that doesn't even have to be a film. It could just be a specific wedding venue and what it's like to shoot there. And you can even just do a 30-second talking head video of, this is why I like this venue. This is why this venue flows really nice. These are the types of shots that I get there. And even that audio or that voiceover could be going over these small behind the scene clips that you got throughout the day. And that way, when couples are searching for a specific venue or vendors or whatever, you're going to pop up and they're going to see your work and they're going to imagine themselves at that venue in their own day with you videoing it. And so that can be a really easy thing, especially for videographers to do. And a lot of people too, like, I feel like when you're thinking of getting new clients and gaining more visibility and attracting new clients, it's like such a buzz thing that we kind of forget about the clients that we already have and we already have booked, especially if you're like, oh, I really want to tap into more premium clients and charging more and, bringing in more income that way. people a lot of the times forget about the clients they already have. You can serve them, and I hate the word like upsell, but like offer more of your services to your current clients, like albums. You guys could do video albums. You could do add-on offers of just like a la carte options of if they didn't have this on their day, they can add it, or it's not too late to add it after, or whatever that looks like for you in terms of packages. So I think don't forget to like nurture and serve the current clients you have to offer them additional services to become into a premium client too.
Yeah. So many good nuggets there. I want to rewind back to like just one thing that what I'm seeing is that, especially with video, we have a tool that every other vendor really wants. You have the same thing with photo, but like imagine you and me work a wedding together, and after it's over, I say, hey, I took like 3 or 4 clips of you photographing the couple at sunset. It's really great footage. It's vertical. It's already cropped down for Instagram. It's done. I'm going to text it to you. It's like, do we think that you're going to want me to be at your next wedding with you? And are you going to refer me? Like, it's not so I can only get referrals, but like I've started incorporating that with the planner, the florist, the photographer. Like, oh, this is like really good content that they would want. I'm going to take 2 extra seconds while they're taking a portrait of the couple or whatever it is and say, hey, I got you 12 shots of you, Rachel, just so you can have them. They're all on one timeline. Here you go. Have them for your website. They're already color corrected, whatever it is. But we have the ability. Wedding video people are not using SEO or our blogs correctly. And that's something that I've really jumped on this year, where every wedding, yes, I'm blogging it. But then also, like you're saying, it's so easy to have somebody guest post, answer 5 questions. ChatGPT exists. Like there's so many different things that make it so easy for us to just think. I think a lot of us are just thinking like checkers, right? It's like, I need to book a wedding, so I'm going to run an ad that says I do weddings, instead of being like, let's play chess just for a second. Where's my couple 12 months before they want to reach out to me? How can I warm them up? And that's one thing we talk about a lot, is somebody that reaches out to me on the day they find out about me is going to be way less likely to pay me more money. And so when can you have a touch point with them 3 months before they're wanting to reach out, 6 months, or what kinds of content, what kinds of things can you give them, offer them? And there's like this paradox of choice now, where it's like, I can offer freebies and I can build a funnel this way and but I think most of us are literally just like, I shoot weddings. Here's my work. We'll see where everything kind of falls into place. So do you have any like system? Do you have any like way that you recommend with our crazy creative brains, and you being an Enneagram 7, I'm sure it's like you want to do all the things.
All the things.
I'm an Enneagram 3, so I want to achieve everything, and I want
Sure.
and so what do you do, practically speaking? You're running a podcast, you've got associate teams, you've got like, how do you organize all of this excitement into a repeatable system? How do you organize your week to do this? Give us some of those details.
Oh man, I love that you're asking an Enneagram 7. Like, tell me your organization
I know.
skills.
Sorry about that.
My husband would say differently. But I'm like, hey, I'm like, I always said there's method to the madness up here. Like, I know things don't look organized, but I know where they all are. So it's like finding obviously systems that work for you. But you made such a good point too, of like where your clients are 12 months ahead of time, because you never know when your when their client experience starts with you. Because like you said, they could have seen you photograph a wedding in 5 years ago, and that's when their client experience started with you. They followed you. They know that they have wanted to have you for when that day comes for them. 5 years later, they get engaged and they want to book you. Like, so you never know, like you could be nurturing potential leads for years before, or someone could literally just come across you and find you. And so I think in terms of like organizing, like marketing, I guess it's nice to have different types of like funnels per se, or different types of content or marketing where this is going to make sense to someone who's been around a while, or like if they come in at this point, this is going to nurture them here. Or if they're coming in right here the first day, I'm posting something today, it's their first time seeing and knowing about me. I know that funnel from this piece of content or marketing is going to funnel them directly to where I want them to go, whether that be to my contact page or a freebie or a specific blog or like wherever that I want to funnel. Essentially, you always want to funnel people to your contact form. You always want people to book with you. Or is it to my DMs, wherever that looks like. And so figuring out different types of pieces of content and like their different marketing purposes kind of helps me mentally organize to know of, okay, I've done this, I do a lot of this type of content. Now maybe I need to add in a couple here. But in terms of like logistically speaking with organization, I love to do like specific days. So like it's Thursday today. Thursdays are my podcast days, and like really stick with that of Mondays are my marketing days. Tuesdays my like miscellaneous, like maybe it's my editing day. Wednesdays are my coaching days. Fridays are loose ends. So it's like kind of taking days, but then I also like to have like a big 3 task. So I take each day and I'm like, what are my big 3 tasks that I need to get done today? That if I get nothing else done besides these 3 things, I will feel so productive because it's actually moving my business forward. And I think the misconception with that is it's not editing, it's not answering emails, it's not posting on social media. Those things are important, but those are more tedious tasks. Like, what are the tasks that are actually going to impact and move my business forward, and making sure that those big 3 things get done either on a daily basis or a weekly basis, whatever that looks like or is easiest for you to organize. That's kind of how I like to approach it.
Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, there's so many tasks and there's so much education out there now. It's just like, oh, I need to get good at YouTube and I need to get good at SEO and I need to, like, we're, hat over here, take it off, new hat on. We're doing that again and again. And so that has been similar for me now that we're running, a full-time podcast brand with a mastermind group and mentorship and coaching calls, podcast itself, YouTube channel, then my John Bunn Films brand that's doing all the, and it can get overwhelming. It's exciting, but if I don't have a plan, then I am screwed. And so I like how you have it broken up into certain days and certain times. And for me, that's what I do. I'm a geek that has a printed week of intention schedule every week, and it's right there in front of me. And I know that on Mondays we do our mentor sessions and Tuesdays is our mastermind. And so I think that finding a rhythm is really important. And it's like, it's just getting into summer and I've got 2 kids and now they're home. And like my wife is like, I work from home. And so just finding the rhythms that work so that you can focus on your big 3 or your big, things that you need to do. And what happens is that little bit over time starts to add up and you start to find all these things. I don't want to steal too much more of your time, but I have a couple questions kind of shifting gears just a little bit. You seem very motivated. You seem like you're kicking butt. You seem like you're heading places. Where does that come from? Why are you a little more for real talk? Where's the motivation come from? Why are you pushing to grow your coaching business, your podcast? Like what's the goal for you? Where's the motivation? What's going on?
That is such a good question. That's a really good question. My husband and I were just talking about this. I'm like, I don't know. I've always been so motivated and determined with certain things that I do, that I'm really passionate about. And when it comes to my business, I feel like I just do like almost that 7-layer deep branding, exercise of like just what's the why? Oh yeah, I do photography, but why? Oh yeah, I do business coaching. Why? Like, and get really, really deep. And I find that every single time, like my deepest, like the bottom, like core of my motivation is always comes down to my faith and serving my family. And I feel like literally anything else from that, anything I do just like stems from that. And so if I can I've always loved serving people. And so finding a way that I can serve people, whether that's photographing their weddings, whether that's helping them in their business and changing their lives in their businesses, essentially changes mine and helps mine. And I just feel like that daily motivation, like I also have 2 kids, and it always just kind of stems back to that. And I truly like love what I'm doing. It's so funny because my whole life, I grew up a dancer. I was a dancer growing up. And so that's very much so like, you're doing this wrong, like, or you could be better at doing this. It's like, you're doing it, but you need to do this now, or you need to be better at it. And so that's always been instilled in me, I think, of good job, but you could do better. And that's a blessing and a curse. But I've also been told by most authority figures in my life that I lack confidence, that I'm not confident until I feel like now that I am doing what I'm doing now, I feel very confident in it. And I feel like I have almost like this new type of confidence, whereas those authoritative figures in my life that told me that if they see me now, they're like, whoa, like it's crazy what happens to you when you are doing what you're meant to be doing and when you're in alignment with it. And so I think, I don't know, does that kind of answer your question to
Yeah.
wrap that up?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, that is a great exercise if you don't know what she's talking about. I mean, basically, you're just asking yourself, well, why are you doing this? Well, why does that matter? Why? And keep going until there's
Like a
no more
toddler.
why. Yes.
Why? But
Why?
why?
Why, mom? Why, mom? Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm very similarly, wound. My faith, my family, so important to me. And, family, I'm a nostalgia junkie. That's why I film weddings, is I want people to like have those memories and all those
Yes.
things. And I think if there's not like a core boat motivation, the reason I ask, it's like, where does it come from? If people get on the podcast and then they go over to your Instagram and they say, wow, she's got a lot of followers and wow, she's cute and she's got a vibe. And it's like, I want to be like that. It's not going to come across genuine unless they're digging into who they are and what they care about. And so for me on my website, you can see that I'm a Christian. You can see that I care about my faith. You can see that I care about, like the marriage and family and the importance of family leading up to the marriage and all these things matter to me. And maybe if you're listening, you're like, that's cool for you, John. That doesn't matter to me. I care about the party and I care. It's like, great. Like,
Awesome.
do
That's
your
good.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so a lot of people out there will see success and say, well, that's how I do it. What I have found is the more that I look inwardly and keep asking the question, why, the easier it is to put that out into the world and then attract those ideal buyers. And once you get into that flow and start to get some of those inquiries from your, Bailey and Avery is my main couple this year. That's just like the jam. They're my couple. And it's just like, man, when they reach out to you and pay you 30 grand to shoot their wedding, and then the people see that wedding and they want more of that. And then there's like, oh my gosh, that cycle spinning upward every year happens when you start by like keep asking and digging into those whys.
Yes. Oh, exactly.
So before we move on, head on for today, I know you have your podcast, you have coaching. Can you just explain to me a little bit of what that ecosystem looks like? Who are you talking to on this? Like you go on retreats, you do different things. Like give me just a little picture of what that side of your business looks like. If someone's out there and it's like, hey, I like her. I want to know more about her. What is it that you're trying to accomplish over there? And maybe just give us a little pitch on what is the brand that, the Gold Biz podcast and all the stuff that goes along with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the Gold Biz podcast, like I said, that's a lot of really good, just entrepreneur, like marketing, client experience, like anyone can benefit from it. I feel like we talk on a lot of topics that over there. So that's a really good space that has a lot of like free education and just kind of open like new tools and all of that stuff. With my coaching and all that, I really love helping like established, I say like photographers, videographers, that I have videographers in the program as well. Um, just really help like what happens going through like establishing this foundation with your marketing, client experience, back end business side of things is people are able to like double, even 4 times the pricing that they're charging and just consistently book their highest packages from that. They start to book so much that they end up growing their team. They start an associate team. They're like growing their revenue. All of these things happen. But as you're tapping, because this just is what happens in my program, all this growth. And then with that new growth, what happens is like new challenges of like new levels of success equal new challenges of like, okay, well, when I was at this level and doing this wasn't happening. And now I've got this happening. Now I'm managing a team and now I'm running this. And now I've got more going on that I need to be more organized in this area of my business. And so navigating that with a business coach and going through that and organizing and making sure you're speaking to and getting consistent inquiries and organizing all of that stuff. A lot that comes with all of that, but that's just kind of a little gist of what we do weekly group coaching calls. So we have all all these coaching calls. And then I also have other co-coaches in the program too. So I'm the main business and success coach. Then I have a copy coach and a Pinterest coach and a blogging and SEO coach. And there's so many areas of just help in the program. You don't lack any support there. And then, like you said too, I host an in-person annual retreat too. So not only the 12-month program coaching, but then we get together for an in-person retreat. So it's really cool. Lots going on there.
I love it. And if someone's out there and says, okay, I want more of this, where can they go to get in touch with you, see everything you offer? Where can we point people towards?
Yeah, I mean, if people want it to start from my Instagram, I think a lot funnels from there. It's just at Rachel Traxler, but with the program specifically, it would just be racheltraxler.com. A lot of stuff is over there as well. So either of those options are perfect.
Well, perfect. Well, anything else before we head off today that you would like to say, Rachel? I know you've dropped a ton of knowledge. I have this many notes worth on my page here from chatting with you today. Anything else before we sign off today?
I don't think so. I think depending on what we talked about too, I've got a few different like resources, like a client, like a booking bottleneck quiz to figure out where your bottleneck is in booking and getting inquiries and booking and all of that stuff. A way of 10 free lead generation strategies that aren't social media. So I've got a few different resources that we can provide to that will help people and just to complement what we talked about today.
Perfect. And we'll put those in the show notes so it's easy for you. Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time today. Seriously, we appreciate it. And I can say thanks from the entire How to Film Weddings audience.
You're awesome. Thank you so much. It was so much fun.
Once again, thank you, Rachel, for being on the podcast today. We're so excited that you took the time and really excited to get you back on the podcast soon. Be sure to head over to the show notes and the links below to grab those freebies she mentioned. And before we head out for the day, I wanted to also remind you of howtofilmweddings.com/mentorship. If you're looking for more one-on-one coaching, personalized just for you, head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/mentorship. We have options to meet with me or with Nick. And these are going to be 1-hour Zoom calls. We're going to record them, send them your way. This is where we can dive deep specifically for you. Again, howtofilmweddings.com/mentorship. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you.